Thank you for the opportunity to share the work that we have done with Children at Risk Action Network, but also after I left, it's now over a year, I left last year in March. And somehow as a part of transition, I've continued with work in disability, I must say. Very interesting area. So I'm happy to share about disability. And in trying to understand disability inclusion, we cannot do that without understanding what disability really is. Please change the slide, please. So we've seen that it's an evolving concept, and it has evolved from a charity model, a medical model, onto a social model. So the world is realizing that actually disability is as a result of interactions between people with the impairment and the attitudinal and environmental barriers that hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. So it's not necessarily the impairment, it's the interaction with the society. Next slide, please. And in, again, the advocacy for disability inclusion, we need to understand those long-term impairments. Those impairments, they are long-term physical, mental, intellectual, sensory conditions that affect as a person may experience. And we have seen that in our work with the Girls Education Challenge in Uganda, we identified 21 conditions that were very common with the children that were influencing their access into education. So we need to also think about and understand the barriers. What are the obstacles that are created by society? These could be physical obstacles like inaccessible buildings. What are the attitudinal barriers like prejudice, stigma? What are the systemic barriers like discriminatory policies, or even a lack of the policies as well? And also in trying to understand inclusive development. Development can never be inclusive if there's limited access to economic opportunities and resources for some people. And because of the fact that education is quite pivotal to any societal development, it changes the world. I'd like to take a case of inclusive education. And in understanding inclusive education, it's basically a system that welcomes and celebrates differences and diversities in mainstream education, and adapting the resources and facilities to suit every learner's needs. That's basically inclusive education. So I will share many examples in the area of education because of the fact that education is powerful. It is the best tool with which we can change this world. Next slide, please. Why we should be concerned? We have globally over 1 in every 10 children has a disability. So, and 16% of that population is in developing countries, and Uganda alone just has 13.2%. The statistics are more alarming for one of the hidden disabilities, dyslexia, where we have 1 in every 5 people. That's between 17 to 20% of the population having a condition called dyslexia. You cannot identify a person with dyslexia unless you have interacted with them. You can't see them you can't see on their face that they have this condition, and yet it affects 1 in every 5 people. That's a very high statistic. And the challenge with that, it's that it's hereditary. It runs in families. It's genetic. So if a family has dyslexia, there's high chances that the children or the next generation within that same family will have a condition called dyslexia. We have seen also research showing us that 80% of those of the disabilities are hidden. If you go to the next slide, we'll see many of the learning disabilities. Now, specific learning disabilities where dyslexia falls and other disabilities like dyscalculia, like dysgraphia, you cannot see a child with such conditions with just looking at their face. and yet there are quite many. The statistic is high. The statistics are high for those kinds of conditions. So we should be concerned. We need to know the numbers so that we can budget well, we can plan well. Next slide, please. And it is their right. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities emphasizes clearly the right to access for children and people with disabilities. And we have an obligation as Christians under international law and all national laws. In Uganda, we have quite a number of laws to address issues of exclusion of children with disabilities. It's critical for us if we think about disability inclusion, we will, it helps us to contribute towards achieving sustainable development goals, especially goal 4. And the number of children with disabilities is increasing. Maybe that is because of some awareness, but also the populations are increasing, especially for Uganda. But also the risk factors are many. We don't have enough time to talk about the causes of disability, but there are many risk factors, and because of a number of issues, including environmental issues, they are increasing. Now, the biggest challenge is that children with disabilities will die up to 20 years earlier than those without disabilities. So our inability to act leads to loss of lives. So this is very, very critical. And again, if we don't act, there's a risk of developing other comorbidities. A child with one disability, for example, like cerebral palsy, can easily develop other disabilities if not supported. Next slide, please. So it's biblical. The Bible talks about having the little children come to our Lord Jesus, and having us talking about welcoming the list of the brothers and sisters by the things that we do. And we have seen in many forums where provisions for access for persons with disabilities are not even thought about. So what should we do? We need to think about our policies. Do we have organizational policies that are intentional about including children with disabilities? When we started the work with GEC, the biggest challenge we found was the absence of a national policy to support inclusive education. And we're grateful that the project ignited that fire. So we started again the discussions, regional consultations on what should be included in that policy. And by time of closure of the policy, of the project, the policy was at cabinet level. So at least we know that there's something that's going to happen, even if it has not happened in the lifetime of a project. We're thinking about the referral pathways. Where are the children? Where are the children with disabilities? The Girls Education Challenge again helped us to find the girls hidden in the homes, excluded from even participation within the society, even within the family setting. So we've found the girls with support from the mentors. There's a lot of training and a lot of efforts to support their transition from home to some learning center, and then to another form of learning away from the center. But we could not have done this without a coordinated effort. So we worked with one of the major training universities, Chambogo University in Kampala, and the Ministry of Education and Sports, and the Ministry of the National Examinations Board, to see that they are supported. These children are supported to transition from one level to another. For instance, a child with dyslexia may not be able to write, but we worked with UNEB. So that UNEB is the examinations board, the national board, to see that there are provisions, accommodations, like subscribers writing for them the exams. We through again the coordinated effort, we were able to develop a national learning identification tool. This is living beyond the life of the project. It's an awareness tool, but it's helping many parents and teachers to know what is affecting my child, how can I help my child, together with the resource guide. And the beautiful picture that you see there is a picture of the Inclusive Education Assessment Center that was not there, but because of that coordinated effort and the funding from the Girls Education Challenge project, that center was revamped and it has supported over 1,800 children. So coordinated effort is quite very, very paramount. Next slide, please. So if we want to move forward to disability inclusion, we have to increase awareness. Sometimes you might think that people know, but actually there are still other people who need to know. There are still other people getting on the block, and they need to know that disability is real and it can affect and hinder inclusive development. If thinking about our mission and vision statements, are they including issues to do with disability? Now, disability in most cases has comorbidities, and taking a multifaceted approach and thinking about a multidisciplinary team can help us to include children in very well. So we were happy that through the project we identified a multidisciplinary team from education, from allied health, from social work, and together we worked to develop that tool. And thinking about inclusive programming, there's a slogan among the persons with disability: nothing about us without us. Include them in the decision-making process. If you can't include them, at least consult them. If they're not within your organization, consult them. Think about your infrastructure. Is it inclusive? Are there ramps? Are you calling them disabled person or disabled children? Think about your language. Think about the attitude shifts. Invite testimonies from parents. There are many, many testimonies. Yesterday alone, I was with this child with cerebral palsy, very non-verbal, but was able to use his technology to do music and communicate to others. Accessible formats. Think about how other people can access the content that you have within the organization. Is it brailled, for instance? Are there captions? Are there interpreters? This next slide. Just before we end, I think there's a lot of reward in investing in research. I didn't write that down, but there's this huge there's a huge gap in getting relevant current knowledge about disability inclusion. So maybe that's something that we all need to think about, especially as a fellowship of believers. What a joy it will be that we are bringing on board knowledge, current knowledge, in such an area that has not been invested so much in. It takes you to light the candle. Thank you so much for listening to me.